Hey, my name is Pastor Elizabeth Friedman. I am the pastor at Lord of Light Lutheran Church and the Lutheran Campus Ministry at the University of Michigan. The text I have for you today is from the book of John, chapter 10, verses 1 through 10. Jesus said, "Very truly I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate but climbs in by another way is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. Calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers." Jesus used this figure of speech with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. So again, Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and bandits, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved, and will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." Gospel of the Lord. My husband and I lived in Oxford in the UK for about 5 years, and for those of you who might not know me, I am also a violin teacher, so that's like the other part of my life. And specifically, I am a Suzuki violin teacher, and we'll get more into what that means later. But one of the students that I had early on when I was building my studio was someone who had come to me because she had a grade level exam in about 3 weeks, and her dad was hoping that I could just spruce her up a bit to get her ready for this thing. We don't have those in the US, but they're sort of graded exams, and you get a percentage grade, and you either get various levels of passing or you fail it. And the stakes can be quite high, especially when you're about 8 years old. So this student had come to me, and she had a lot of technical problems. There was a lot of work to do, and I remember asking her dad privately, does she really have to take this exam now, or could it wait? And he said, well, we've paid for the exam, and she's got her time slot and everything, and we really should do it. And so I, did the best I could and got her ready. But had she been my student from the beginning, I would never have put her forward in that state. Especially because I feel like those kinds of situations really should be positive experiences for kids. And there was one lesson when her dad interjected and said, well, her old teacher said that maybe she has some coordination problems and she should just try another instrument. And I was really taken aback. And when I went and talked to my colleague and mentor about it later, she said, yeah, she doesn't have a coordination problem. She has a teacher problem. And that's exactly how I felt. One of the things about Suzuki philosophy, which I won't get into too hard, is that you start with the principle that every person can play, no matter whether they think they're tone deaf or whatever. It's the job of the teacher to create the right environment for the student to succeed. And so one of the most important lessons that I learned in teacher training and throughout my years of teaching is that if a student is having trouble, it's my job to fix it. They might not be practicing then that's kind of on them. But if they truly don't understand, or if I'm giving them something that's just too hard for them to do, as in the case of this girl in this exam, and if I'm not finding all the other steps in between that they need to do and complete in order to be successful, then that's really on me as the teacher. I just had a Zoom lesson this week with another young student, and she's been with me now for just a couple of months. And of course, in this time, it's really hard to work with little ones. And twice now, when it's been in her lesson, time to start the new thing, she gets all dramatic and she says she's too tired, and then she flops on the floor. And of course, I know I've been doing this for 20 years. In person, I could deal with this really easily, but it's quite hard to do it over Zoom. But what I know is that I have seen this behavior before in other children. She's not really tired. She's worried. She doesn't know that she can trust me yet. And it's my job to teach her that she can trust me. Early on in any teaching relationship, I make a deal with my students, particularly with my young ones. I promise them that I will never ask them to do anything that I don't already know they can do. And in turn, I ask them to try their very best. But in order for them to learn that they can trust me, we normally have to get through a few of these difficult spots so that they can finally say, yes, I understand that I can do hard things, that I can do things that I didn't even know were possible. It's not just me saying it. Through their experience, I'm able to earn their trust. But if that trust has been damaged, whether by me, and gosh, I hope not, or by someone else, like that teacher who told that student that she had a coordination problem, sometimes the damage is too deep. That particular student actually quit shortly afterwards because she was so convinced that it was going to be impossible for her to do this. We are in a crisis of trust these days, and for years now, misinformation has spread so rapidly that it has just become a part of our daily lives. Noise in the background, something we've gotten far too used to. And in faith, too, misinformation has been rampant. That you're not good enough, that your skin isn't the right color, that you're damaged goods, that you don't love the right person, that your gender is wrong, and that therefore God could never love you for who you are. But if you've ever heard these words, you don't have a God problem. You have a pastor problem. For those who have heard the voices of thieves their whole lives, it can be hard to imagine what trusting the Good Shepherd could be like. If you've ever been told that something must be wrong with you, that maybe this just isn't the right path for you, Jesus has a very different response, and a very consistent response throughout the Gospels. He will care for you just as he cares for all of his flock, and he will rejoice when you are with him. Jesus declares that he is the one whose voice we should be following, that his are the words that are trustworthy. Jesus knows that half a life is not an abundant life. And we are reminded in this text that Jesus came so that we might have life and have it abundantly. What Jesus tells us throughout the Gospels is that we are beloved children of God, accompanied by the one who loves us. Even when we are lost, we will be found. Even when we cannot see the way forward, the light of the world will show us the way. Let us pray together. God of compassion, thank you for shepherding us through the most difficult parts of our lives. Thank you for creating us and for creating the relationships that sustain us. We ask that your presence be with the dying and the healing, and that you accompany all medical staff, grocery store workers, delivery drivers, warehouse workers, janitors, and everyone else who makes it possible for us to stay home and stay safe. Especially today, we ask for your loving presence in our lives and in our hearts, and that your trustworthy words ring true for all those who have ever been told they are less than. Thank you for loving us. Amen.